Okay, come on for the tutorial on how to make this precious witch costume, the dress and the hat. It's so simple, even a beginner can do it. It is a super easy, beginner-friendly project, I promise. I chose cotton canvas to make this with because cotton would not hang so heavy and flow like I wanted it to. So I would recommend linen or cotton canvas for this. You want something that's a little bit heavier. First thing I did was measured my little ladies from shoulder to floor, and they are 28 inches. So I added 2 inches because I wanted to fold the top down for the ribbon, and I didn't know if I wanted to hem it or not. Then I laid my pieces so that all of my raw edge corners were together. I measured down 8 inches. I measured across 4 inches. I drew a line between those two measurements, and then I cut on that line. That's going to go under their arms. We've cut it out. Now let's sew it together. The first thing we're going to do is find the top of our fabric. In my case, it's the 44-inch side. I'm going to fold down from the part that I cut about 1 inch, and then I'm going to straight stitch all the way across. That's going to make the pocket for our ribbon to go in, and I'm going to do that to both sides. I'm straight stitching near the raw edge, and I know that I'm going to have a straight seam because I'm following the edge of my fabric with the edge of my presser foot. Do this same thing to the other piece of fabric. Now you have 2 pieces, a front and a back. You're going to lay one piece face up and one piece face down. Then you're going to pin your sides together, or in my case, clips, because I don't like to pin. After you pin your sides together, you're going to sew a straight stitch down each side. Make sure that you start sewing underneath the armhole. We don't want to close the armhole up, and that we follow the edge of our fabric with the edge of our presser foot. That's going to give us a straight seam all the way down. Now you're going to turn your dress right side out. I'm using 1.5 inch ribbon, but you can use whatever you have or something smaller or wider. I cut 2 18-inch pieces of ribbon. One piece will go in the front of my dress and one piece will go in the back of my dress. Fed my ribbon through by attaching a safety pin to one end and then just pushing it through the pocket. Put your piece of ribbon through the front pocket and then get your second piece of ribbon and put it through the back pocket. After you're finished putting your ribbon through, you can singe the end of each ribbon and they won't fray that way. Tie your bows up on each side and you're finished. That's it, unless you want to add a pocket. Now, if you're adding pockets, I would do this step before you finished your dress, but I didn't because I just forgot until I got done. And the pocket is super cute. I made it so that it would coordinate with the hat I'm going to make next. So I got 2 pieces of fabric, basically square, folded them in half, rounded off one side, and cut them kind of the size that I wanted them. Then I got another piece of fabric, in my case it was black, and I sewed pretty side to pretty side, leaving a hole so that I could turn it right side out. After I turned it right side out, I pushed out all of my edges, ironed it, and then I took a ruler and I measured down 11 inches. That's where I wanted my pocket to be, but you can put your dress on or try it on your little lady or wherever you think you need it to be and pin your pocket there. Then I just straight stitched all the way around the pocket. Well, not all the way around, just around 3 sides. I didn't want to close the top. And then I did the same thing to the other side. And you just made the cutest witch costume. Now, let's start on the hat. I chose 2 coordinating fabrics, cut them into 2.5-inch strips, and sewed them together. After I had those sewn together, I ironed them, and then I cut them into 2.5-inch strips again. Now I'm sewing these together. I'm going to sew these with a straight stitch and a 1/4-inch seam, and I'm going to get that 1/4-inch seam by following the edge of my fabric with the edge of my presser foot. This is going to be the patchwork top of my hat. I'm only doing the top of my hat patchwork, but you can do all of it patchwork if you want. This pattern is available at hometownquiltcompany.com. You'll go there, download the pattern, print it out, tape your pieces together, and then you'll use one piece for the top and one piece for the brim of the hat. After I get these sewn together, I'm going to iron them flat, and then I'm going to use my pattern pieces to cut out the top of the hat. If you don't want to use patchwork, then you can use a solid piece of fabric, which would be equally as precious. So don't let this part intimidate you. I chose to line the inside of my hat with a piece of felt so that it would have some strength to stand up. So I cut 2 pieces of each of the pattern. I cut 2 of the top of the hat and 2 of the brim of the hat. one of my fabric and one of my felt. Then I folded the top of the hat pretty side to pretty side and sewed a seam, a straight stitch all the way up the side. Then I turned it right side out. I did the same thing with the felt, and then I put the felt pretty side on the outside, just like the top. The pretty side is on the outside, and I sewed a straight stitch all the way around the bottom of the hat. Now, this doesn't have to be perfect. I just want to make sure it doesn't come apart when I'm sewing it to the brim. Now, I'm going to take the brim of the hat pretty side to pretty side, and I'm going to sew all the way in a circle. When I'm finished sewing this, I'm going to turn it right side out. So I'm going to flip my hat. I'm going to push it all the way out, iron it, and then I'm going to top stitch all the way around. The top stitching is going to make it look really nice, and it's going to make it lay flat, and we want it to lay flat so that it actually looks like a witch's hat. So when I put it in there, I'm top stitching with a 1/4 inch seam, and I'm getting that by following the edge of my fabric with the edge of my presser foot. One of the things I see y'all struggling with the most is how to sew a straight seam, and that's how my grandmother taught me, and to this day it's the rule that I still follow. Now, don't forget when you make this to send me a photo at hometownquiltcompany@gmail.com, or you can tag me in your video if you upload it. After I've top stitched the outside, I'm going to go sew a seam on the inside. That's only to make sure that all of my pieces stay together when I'm sewing the top of the hat to the brim of the hat. Now, I'm turning it upside down, and I am clipping all the way around. So when you clip it or pin it, make sure that all of your pieces are connected, because you don't want a hat that's got a big piece of fabric sticking out of it when you're done. Now, sew you a straight stitch all the way around. And that's it. You're finished. My name is Tammy. I'm your favorite sewing teacher. I would love for you to come sew with me. I teach easy, beginner-friendly sewing projects.